And so my home life was really falling apart. 2 young kids. When I was home, I was home. I was a good dad. Don't like watching you and your kids. Same kind of thing. I mean, I was all in when I was home, but it just wasn't an everyday thing. And unbeknownst to me, my ex was flirting and doing business on the side. I didn't, know
Mm-hmm.
that. I didn't, wasn't suspicious of it, real trusting. So at any rate, when one day she left with the kids, and I was golfing, and asked me to come home after 9. It's like, I'm in a country club. I'll see you after 18. I'm not coming home at 9. That would not be good. Well, that was all she needed to say, I'm out. And it was, I've never felt emotional pain like that before. And so I just imploded, and I started using more and more. And with when addiction really kicks in, there's a greed factor involved where you'll do anything. And so one time I was uh, really it all started when we raided a like this motel, like an outside motel where the doors were all outside, but almost looked like a strip mall in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in one room searching everything, and there's this golf ball size ball of cocaine, and there's nobody in this room. And I was partying on the side, no one knew. And I just put that in my pocket, and no one knew. And it's like, well, that was too stinking easy. And then it's just from there, I went from stopping somebody like you, and if you've got, coke, weed, whatever in your car, and you're a nice guy, you're being respectful. It's like, Corey, Taylor, you guys don't want to go to jail, do you? It's like, no. It's like, well, what's it worth you not to go to jail? It's like, what? It's like, well, I didn't stutter.
Yeah.
What's it worth you not to go to jail? Like anything. Anything? Okay, let's talk. And you're like, really? Yeah, really. Let's talk. I don't want to take you to jail. You don't want to go to jail. And so, of course, I would take your drugs
But I
from
will
you.
get paid.
Yes.
I don't want to take it. I mean, it's not going to be free, but I
No.
don't think.
Well, but here's the deal. It's like, if I take you to jail, you got a felony. You're going to have to go tell your wife. You're going to, lose you're talking probably 10, 20 grand, right? So, like,
Yeah.
what's it worth you not to go to jail? And if you went, oh, a couple $100, it's like, don't insult me. A couple $100. Are you kidding me? Come on.
I'm trying to do you a favor.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I only got 400 on me. It's like, do you have an ATM card? It's like, yeah, let's go there then. I mean, literally, that's what I was doing for a whole entire year. And I had some stipulation not to work with women, gay people, or people who were drunk, because they would get offended when they woke up, or if I figure a female personality would get offended. So it was only businessmen driving nice cars. That was my profile.
Your target audience.
That was my
His target audience.
I had this head shop, where they called it head shop back in the day, or the paraphernalia and whatnot. And I had a perched view up on a parking lot where I would watch people drive in. I'd wait for the Mercedes, the Beamers, the Jaguars, the Caddies, and men get out. And I know that if there's a man going into there, they just scored, they didn't have their paraphernalia to use, I'm stopping that guy. So as soon as they pulled out, I'd get my little unmarked car, put my little red light on top, pull them over, and you just know they're going, oh no. And I'd befriend them right away and say, listen, I've got to go check your car. There's a robbery, your car matches the description, same kind of a thing. And I said, you don't have any drugs or paraphernalia in the car? And they go, no. I had to ask. So I go in there, check it out, find it, of course. And it's like, you lied to me.
How could you do that?
Now what am I going to do? Like,
I'm hurt.
let me go? It's like, no. And so that was the scam that I did. And it was just so simple.
So you're pulling people over, you're taking their drugs,
And
taking their
money.
cash.
Mm-hmm. So, and it got to a point where the person said, can you split the drugs with me at least? It's like, okay, here, take half, I'll take half, and just don't come out on the streets again. Just stay at home and use. And that, I mean, it's just
Be
like,
safe.
yeah,
Responsible.
Yeah,
All right? You're being
don't do
adult.
this again. I mean, it was just crazy. I look back on it, of course, and just shake my head and go, "Oh my gosh!" The way I could, I scare myself because I can justify and rationalize anything. I mean, to this day, she won't let me take the car to the dealership to get an oil change. She's afraid I'm going to go buy another car because I can talk myself into it, like I've done 30 times in 30 some odd years. But
He's literally had 30 new cars in 37 years.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
It's a lot of cars.
it is a lot of cars. Yeah. So, but like I told you, I'm in recovery from that now. I've got
Right.
4 years without
Right.
a car.
Right.
So anyway, it just started to really get bad, and unbeknownst to me, there's people that complain to the department, which happens a lot anyway. So that guys at the desk were, oh yeah, whatever, and they just wouldn't do anything with it. But one time we were in court, and I arrested a guy like 6 months later. He had like 5.5 ounces of coke, and he was a little dirtbag. He needed to go to jail, but I only put an ounce in evidence, so I kept 4.5 ounces to myself. And he told his lawyer at when we were in jail and said, or at the court, I had 5.5 ounces, not one. And the attorney went to the judge, and the judge, based on mine and my partner's testimony, wasn't really solid, corroborating. He thought maybe there's something to it. So they went to the department, told them, and they started an investigation. What's interesting is I knew it. I mean, I knew I was being fought. We were being followed. I mean, I was a good cop. I mean, I actually looked up in trees and looked around. I didn't just keep my head down like a dog sniffing for poop. I was looking at everything, and so I knew we were being followed. I knew there was something going on, and they split my partner and myself up. They put us back together to see if we could back into that activity, which we didn't. And then they tried to set us up one night, and had a gal walk with a briefcase in her hand and said, "Hey, I just found a briefcase on top of a telephone booth, and some Mexican guy was talking on the phone, and he got in his Mercedes and sped off, and he left his briefcase. Will you take it?" It's like, "Nah, just take it to the station. Found property. They'll take care of it." And she persisted. "I can't do that. I get lost." And she was actually playing like she was mentally ill to some degree. So we got her information, which was bogus, and I knew it right away. So I knew we were getting set. This something's going down. But we opened up the briefcase anyway, and there's 3 ounces of hermetically sealed cocaine in there, $500, Colombian passport, family pictures. It's like, this is a dealer's briefcase, you know. Yeah. And so we took it back to the station and went to the major narcotic unit and said, "Hey, this is what happened. You want to take the coke and put it into evidence?" They go, "No, you guys do that." And they were the ones that were investigating us. And we partied with them. We drank after shift with them. We broke doors down with raised together. They were like, our part of the family kind of a deal, like big brothers in a sense, because they were like where we maybe wanted to be at some point. And so I'm in our car. We're getting set up. My partner's writing the report. He's writing that night. We switch off whoever, as they call it, booking. So he's writing all the paperwork. And so I'm figuring out, how can I get this hermetically sealed cocaine open, just like at the very corner, and just get a little bit out.
Get a tiny little taste out of it.
And I actually folded the paper bindle, and I'm thinking, and I just got a lighter. I could light that up, and then right when I'm getting ready to try to get that coke, I get our names are called over the loudspeaker. Graham, Desiree, report to the sergeant's office. So I said, "You guys stay here. I'll go check it out." And I walked into the station, and as soon as I walk in, 4 or 5 deputies swooped down on me, ripped my gun out, put my hands behind my back. "You're under arrest." And it's like, oh, and I played stupid. It's like, "What's going on?" And I know exactly what was going on. And so they took me to the captain's office, and I heard Desiree report to the sergeant. It's like, "Ooh, I know what's going to happen to him." And so we both get arrested. They take me up to my house. I was living with my mom to search that. They searched my house up in the desert already, but I knew they were coming, and I cleaned everything out.
Right.
Nothing was there. In fact, the sergeant who took me back to the house said, "Man, you were the hardest person we've ever had to follow." It's like, well, I knew you were following me. It's like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. So anyway, major news, national news, ABC, NBC, CBS.
Yeah, for anybody out there, you can literally Google like Scott Graham, LA Sheriff Deputy, and all of this comes up.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? I've got 2 kids. I got child support. I obviously lost my job. I don't want to clean pools. I got a court case. I'm looking at 6 years of prison. And so I call my friends, who are all girls. In fact, they were strippers, and high-end strippers, of course.
Right.
I mean, just where men would bring their wives to watch these shows, even though they would get down to a G-string. And they asked, what are you going to do? And I was like, I have no idea. And, "Well, why don't you come to work with us?" And it's like, what, like a bouncer? I'm like, all of 5'7". I know I'm strong and everything, and I can run away or run towards somebody, but no, dance with us. It's like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that. That sounds fun. Okay. And so they said, "We'll get you all the shows," and they got me shows at nightclubs, at private parties, and I just had to show up, dance 3 songs, and take off. And so that's what I did for 6 months. And it was a blast. Now, I want to make it really clear that I was an exotic dancer, because my hips went from side to side, not from front to back. I want to make that really, really clear. Okay? So, Lord forgive me. But anyway, but I never had sex while I was dancing. I want to make that known too, because I knew what it was like to be cheated on, and I was not going to do that to another man. I just, wasn't going to do that. And it was fun to have that power, actually, to say no. Because I was asked every time, like, "Do you want to get down with it?" It's like, no, let's just have fun. It's a party, you'll regret it in the morning if you do it. Let's just have fun. And then everybody had fun. It was a blast.
These are the conversations that we're bonding over. So That I'll explain in a minute.
Great first date material.
Because I had the same
Look at it, 6 years in prison.
compass.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so he comes back from visiting with who was his next door neighbor, who he went to kindergarten and every grade thereafter that I just guessed, right? Good intuition. And he walks by and he slowed down right when he got to me. And it was just this like magical. If it was in a movie, it was like, it was more than a glance and less than a stare. I mean, our eyes, we connected. And then he sat down with his friend. And so I'm grilling my friend again. It's like, okay, what's he doing now? He's totally staring at you. Da, 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 da. So sure enough, within minutes, he pops back up and walks over and just locks eyes with me and says, hey, I know this sounds like a line, but I really wanted to meet you. Can I sit down for 5 minutes? So I looked at Karen to see if she'd like give me the green light. So she nods. And then I looked at my watch and I tapped it twice and said, go. And he sat down. Now he had been up either one night, 2 nights.
I had danced the night before and was coked out and
cocaine.
was drinking
He'd not been to
margaritas.
sleep. And but to your point of how you could still articulate and just how sharp you were, like I had no clue that he was anything like hungover or drug over or whatever. So yeah, but he didn't catch the tap on the watch and I still laugh about it to this day. So he plops down and that 5 minutes turned into 5 hours. Yeah. So what we didn't talk about was that he had made ABC, NBC, and CBS. I would find that out 24 hours later. But what we did talk about was he was dancing, and it's like, oh, I dance too. And so we started talking about, yes, my hips go side to side. Isn't that tacky when they go front and back? And like, I mean, everything silly we were connecting on.